are back again, episode
Hey,
117.
117. How you doing?
If I was any better. I would have to take the crosstown bus and leave Pottstown and go right to Hollywood.
Whoa.
If I was any better.
Wow. Ready for your Oscar.
I don't know. Yes, exactly. Can you believe The Pretender got snubbed at the Oscars in 2019 for Best Original Documentary? Sure. I mean, I'm not asking a lot, but I'm just saying, you know, Toscano did a damn fine job on that.
He did. He absolutely did. You got ripped off.
I think I did get ripped off. I mean, that was a very interesting. I mean, I think some documentary won about someone who kind of like wanted to end world violence and wanted peace. Whatever. Come on. I heard that before. How about the guy that wants to be Rocky? Now that's an Oscar.
Right. So obvious.
So obvious. Hey, Stacey, what was Stallone doing in 2017?
Okay. Yes. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Boom. Here it is. I
enjoyed these Galaxy movies, Guardian movies. Now, I'm not familiar. I'm really not very familiar with I'm a DC guy. So, you can quiz me on DC. I'm pretty good. I don't really know the other comic universes, but I'm really growing to know them. And Galaxy maybe Galaxy is DC.
I don't know.
No, I don't think they are. Are they more than Marvel? Listen, you guys right now watching this, I don't know if there's any comic book geeks here, but
yes. Do you know?
Yeah, is Galaxy DC or Marvel? No, it would be Marvel because they were in with Thanos and Iron Man and Captain America. So that's the other one with the Hulk and all that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I am not an expert in those things at all. So whatever you say, I'm going to be like, yes, that sounds great.
I was able to answer my own questions. Yeah. So anyways, they're good movies and there's some great montages set to some really great pop culture music. That's really great. So go check it out. And of course, we get to see Sly in yet another great series of movies. Go check it out. Go check it out.
And speaking in real time, boom. So Tulsa King.
Look at him. There he is.
Episode 2.
Dwight Manfredi. Look at him.
So this gentleman right here, Jelly Roll, I had the opportunity to meet very unexpectedly. It was like a total random, right place, right time. My friend Michelle and I were downtown Nashville. We were at the African Museum of History Art Museum.
Yeah.
And there he is. The place, it was like the end. They were about to close. He's walking through and he's walking right toward us, came up to me and Michelle, so nice to meet you. He was so nice and so humble. And so we were like, I can't believe you're stopping to talk to us. And he was thanking us for stopping to talk to him. Such a nice guy.
Amazing.
And what was so neat about watching him on Tulsa King is his demeanor and how sweet he was and how, his humor, like that gentle humor, not rude humor. Exactly. It was exactly him. He portrayed himself exactly how he is. So this whole scene, I just love.
Well, I can't wait to see it. I didn't get a chance to see Tulsa King last night. I'm going to take a little short thing. I didn't tell you about this. Oh, we had a little event happen here last night at the house.
Okay.
Yeah, our neighbor across the street, Joey Fagula, his wife went into labor and the ambulance couldn't get here on time. So I went out and delivered the baby.
Did you?
Yeah. And so I assured the mother I knew what I was doing for my police training.
Speaking to a hero here.
I don't know if you know this, but I was in the police academy and they taught us how to deliver babies. Exactly right. Yeah. And
congratulations.
Of course. I know. I felt like, very proud. And then after that, it was what had happened was there was like a tornado effect that had come through. It was this uncalled for storm. So it had knocked out the cable. We couldn't watch TV. And so I missed Tulsa King through extraordinary events that I tried to watch. So Sly, if you hear this, sorry I didn't catch it on opening night.
Too busy delivering another human.
What am I going to do? Not deliver a baby?
Come on.
Forget about it.
Anyway, the storyline continues. It's a great fast pace. I love the fact that he is developing his, Dwight is developing his relationship with his daughter. That's so nice to see that
Sure.
warmth is growing, and he's still full of shenanigans and threats. And, it's funny. He's this dual character, he comes in, blow ups everybody's life, yet you love him to death, right? The hug him and slug him, just like Polly. So these are just a few little things. There they are. But I'm sure Sly had a good time with Jelly Roll, because he's
Look
just
at
a
that
great
picture.
guy.
Look at that picture. You guys watching
Yeah.
Files right now, look at that pinky, how far out it goes. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he broke that pinky during one of his movies. Yeah.
Did he?
I'm almost
Okay.
positive. I want to say, I know in Rocky 3, in the back of his hands, both hands,
Yes.
he has little cracked fissures on the back of his hands. And I'll tell you how I know that, because on the set of Rocky Balboa, I was sitting in the Victor Cafe upstairs in the loft area on this red leather couch.
Yes.
And Frank Stallone was sitting there, and he was opening up about Sly's history in the Rocky behind the scenes. And he started saying how Sly's hands really hurt more than Sly lets on, because, well, this was back in the time. Sly has now told us about this. But Sly has these little fissure cracks on the back of his hands from hitting Mr. T's head. He said that's when his hands started hurting after it. So just imagine, when you see like Brad Pitt doing these stunts or something like that, like you really, or like Tom Hanks, like how far do they go with their stunts as opposed to a guy like Sly? I don't even know how far Arnold goes to his stunts. Right. Because you never hear Arnold talking about his own stunts. But when it's an organic conversation, Sly goes right into his what he's done. And other producers and directors have said what a maniac Sly has been. And of course, Sly regrets probably some of those stunts. I'm sure the one on Expendables.
The injuries. Yeah.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Tom Cruise is one who likes to go all out. That I know. He's gonna hurt himself.
Tom Cruise does go all out. He really does. But there aren't a lot of actors that'll do that. I mean, that's why stunt men and stunt women, I guess the political term is stunt people. I guess that's why they have stunt people that get paid good money for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well. Anyways, since I brought up the Victor Cafe, today's guest is probably one of my favorite people in the world. Did our guest get here yet? They're not here yet.
He is here.
Okay.
He's
all right.
here.
Well, I'm gonna tell a little story, and I want to build up this individual. So this guy, my life has been a journey since I was about 11 years old. And when you get to a certain age, you tend to put your dream. It's not that you lose your dreams. It's more like you neglect your dreams, right? So
isn't that the truth? Yep.
Right. And I think a lot of people understand that, when you're 11 years old, most people are not going to be what they wanted to be at 11.
Right.
So when our next guest, who's Greg Distefano, his family has owned the Victor Cafe, which was Adrian's in Balboa and the two Creed movies. It's one of the only times you'll get me to say the words Creed here. I won't. I'm so aggravated with that whole situation.
Right.
But what took place in probably early February of 2006 was like changing the course of my life. And Greg, his wife Alexa, a gentleman named Steve Green, and a beautiful friend of mine named Rhea changed the course of my life. Well, I'm going to focus on Greg. Those guys had heavy parts in it all along the way, but because Greg is our guest today, I'm going to focus on him. So I became friends with Greg with Steve Green via happenstance. Sue and I had heard about filming at the Victor Cafe in the early winter of 2006. So Sue suggested we go down and we kind of just see if we could see anything about this Victor Cafe. And when we pulled up out front, I mean, this place was all decked out as Adrian's. It had the big sign above it. It had the new canopy. I mean, it was beautiful. So I'm looking in the window and I hear this voice. There you go. There I am on one of my tours with someone I don't remember, but this is exactly what it looked like when Sue and I came up, only it was cold out. So we're looking in the window and I hear this voice in back of me, which is Steve Green. And he made some Rocky reference to the way I look. And he was so kind. He goes, "You want to come in and see?" And I was okay. So we go right in, and the whole restaurant is decorated. The back wall is covered with the Leroy Neiman, Rocky and Apollo. The
Oh,
tables have the red and white checkered look to them, tablecloths. I mean,
yeah,
there's pictures of Adrian and Rock. There I am, a
yeah,
picture Sue took of
yeah,
me looking at the Leroy Neiman. Here I am on a tour
yeah.
with the green bench, which is now right in back of me, which is
Yes,
kind of
that's
cool.
crazy to
Which
think.
I'm
Yes.
I'm sure Greg and I will talk about that in just a moment. And so we're looking around, and I'm just falling in love with this place. So at the end of the day, we had gone downstairs. Steve took me downstairs to where he said, they're going to be filming down here. He goes, Mike, you remember this guy, Spider Rico? And I said, yeah. Well, Stallone's bringing him back, and they're filming down here in the basement. So I went down in the basement, and Sue was taking a billion pictures, and I just could not believe where I was. There I am. See, I've even got the M65 jacket on that Rocky wears. I've got those old baggy jeans. So like,
Yeah.
okay, that sells it right there. Like, I could not believe I'm here. Like, I didn't know how they were going to use it, but right to my left was where Spider Rico was, of
Right,
course, washing some dishes.
right.
Anyways, that day ends, and we get invited. Steve makes reservations for Sue and I for a dinner, and Sly happened to be there that night. And of course, I was kind of nervous, didn't know how to approach Sly. End of the night, I had made some reference about the painting, and things went quite well.
Yeah.
Gary, Stallone's bodyguard, had come out, and we had a nice conversation. And then Frank had come out, and that was really cool. And all of that was kind of incredibly unique. Now, about a week later, now I still hadn't met Greg yet. Now, about a week later, Steve calls me and he says, Mike, come on down. He goes, I'm going to get you in during filming of Balboa. I go, oh
Nice.
my God, this is incredible. So I call off work. I go down, and a series of events happen, and he can't get me in that night. He himself gets kicked out of the restaurant for whatever reason. If I know Steve, he probably brought it on himself. Steve is out there on Pluto, but he is a guy I love to death. So, anyways, I stay all night long. We're watching. I'm checking things out. And the next morning, I had booked a hotel. I come back down early, and I have an Irish coffee with Steve. And we're sitting in the restaurant. Now they're filming all night scenes from 7 at night to like 8 in the morning. So it's probably about 8:45. The crew's gone. Stallone's gone back to the hotel. It's just me and Steve. So he makes an Irish coffee, hits it up with some whiskey, and we're
Yes.
just sitting there. Actually, I'm sitting right there on this corner. Right
Gotcha.
there. Yes, of the green bench. And so I'm just looking out of the restaurant, surveying everything. And Steve is apologizing for not being able to get me on set in to see them film. I said, oh,
Okay.
God, no problem. I got to go home at some point. As I start walking back to my Jeep, I see Steve talking to this man who has about the broadest smile I've ever seen on a human. And so he calls me back. And so I go back, and he goes, Mike, this is Greg Distefano. He goes, he's the guy that owns the restaurant here. And Greg just immediately says, listen, my wife said she met you last night out front. She said you're really a nice guy. She said she felt you were really genuine. He said, I talked to one of the coordinators. He goes, we're going to have you down at the church where the extras are. You're going to be one of the diners in the scene. The only caveat is they need you from 7 at night to 8 in the morning, and I have work at 9 a.m. So of course I'm calling off. I mean,
Yeah.
anyways, when I went in, we hung around the Victors all day long. Greg couldn't have been nicer. Now, don't forget, I'm a complete stranger to Greg, right?
Right.
But he tells my friend Steve and of course Rhea, who was the manager at the time of the Victors, he said, see that Mike gets a coffee, get him lunch, whatever he needs. And we just hung out and became friends all afternoon. And probably around 4:30, Stallone arrives on site. There might be a picture I sent you of an outdoor section. If there's like lights, there's it might even be partially blurry. Anyways, I mean, so, that's it. That's the picture right there.
Okay.
You can see Sly has literally just arrived. This is probably about 4:30 at night. I snuck out, took this picture. He goes in. I sneak back upstairs, and I hear Sly in that big baritone voice say,
Yes.
you can let the people go at the church. We're not going to do that scene. We're going to do a smaller scene tonight. And my heart sank because I knew I wasn't going to be in the shot. So no problem. Greg and his wife, they give me this idea because security, they're supposed to kick people out like me.
Okay.
I'm not supposed to be there, right? So they tell security that I'm family. I just arrived from Italy and I speak very little English. And Steve puts an apron on me and a white towel over my shoulder, and he hands me this 9-point silver candelabra with these red candles on it. And they said, listen, there you go. That's it. So this was a dinner. That was an afternoon. We went for Sue's birthday. We went for her birthday there, and the very candelabra that I used to save my ass to keep me inside, that's the one. So I thought I hold it up to show Sue. Anyways, so I start polishing the candelabra, and the staff was allowed to a degree to be in there because the restaurant was open on the weekends. They didn't film on the weekends. So Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday, they were filming. Anyways, I was polishing this as if I was an actual paid member of the Victor Cafe. And that's how I was able to stay on set for X amount of time. And the friendships that I built up, I'm jumping ahead so we can get Greg on. So the friendship that I've built up with the Distefanos is something, it's like a Forrest Gump moment. I did not plan to be there. I did not plan to be inside at night. I had no idea. If it wasn't for the kindness of Greg, I never would have gotten in there. And I used to vomit gratuitously on Greg and his wife and Steve and Rhea over the years. I say, there you go. There she is. And so I've tried, because I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. But listen, Greg is here today, so I want to bring him in. And Greg, get ready for some gratuitous vomiting of love. Okay,
here he is.
I got my napkin right.
And there he is inside the Victor Cafe.
Nice.
With the name in the back of him.
That's great.
Greg, how are you?
Thank you so much for having me. And I have the napkin ready in case you vomit. But, it's all good. How are you guys? I'm really honored to be on the show. Thanks for having me. I enjoy hearing everything you've been saying. I remember things, one or two items a little bit differently. I think I got you the reservation where you sat down next to Sylvester Stallone that night.
Yeah, that's true.
So
here, let's touch on that. This is a great jumping off point.
Yeah.
So at this point, Stacy, I only know Greg maybe. Filming is all done. It's July. It's July 11th, actually. And Stallone shows up for his birthday. But a few days before that, about 2 weeks before that, Greg calls me and he goes, Mike, I just got off the phone with Stallone or his representative. He's going to be here on his birthday. The restaurant's going to be open. Would you and Sue like a table next to his? I said, oh my God, who do I have to murder? And so he said, no one. That's the great thing. So he put a small circular table right next to the long rectangular table that Sly was at with his family. Nice. And we got there a little early. And of course, I was very nervous and I had a bottle of wine to calm my nerves. But Greg, you were the one that made that happen.
Well, it all worked out. It was up to you. I said, you're on your own. I could get you the table, and that was it. I went away because I never liked really hanging around when he was in the restaurant. I was always the shy owner. I didn't want to be anywhere near. And I said, you're on your own, but you certainly made it work out. You know, you're a great guy. We love you. He loves you. And here we are. And here we are.
And again, for people watching this, I hope people understand. Think about the world that we live in, okay? Where what if I was a lunatic and my toaster or microwave oven told me to kill Sylvester Stallone?
Right.
I was not frisked. I was not checked. Nothing. Right. Years later, I had asked Greg and Alexa and Rhea, and I haven't seen Steve in about 12 years, but I would ask him the same thing. What was it about me that you felt comfortable? Greg, what was it?
It was your kind face and your empathetic nature.
Oh, thank you.
The moment my wife saw you, she fell in love with you. I remember first seeing you. You were outside behind one of the barriers on one of those cold February nights.
Yeah.
And, you know, we just felt, I wouldn't say feel sorry for you because, you know, we love you. We wouldn't say that, but we felt sorry for you. We said, come on in.
Yeah.
You know, and we knew that you had some dreams and aspirations, you know, whatever you had. It just kind of transferred to Alexa and I, and we knew right away. And there was an immediate trust and a friendship. And You know, that's the way things are sometimes. You know, the
Yeah.
world is not always so bad where we distrust everyone.
Yeah.
We could tell just by your nature. And
Right.
we love Sue, of course. And that's how it all began.
I
You
will
know,
pass that on to Sue. I promise. She
Nice.
will love to hear this, and when she sees this, it's going to really melt her heart. So, but this is the thing, Stacy, that you just don't see all that often. So, I want people to know when you go to Philadelphia, book the Victor Cafe.
Yes.
Best food on the East Coast. It's
Nice.
incredible.
I
All
bet.
right.
best singing too. Come on now.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
I know. I'm in Rocky Mount, but the restaurant has its own history for like 100 years of opera, which is great.
Yeah.
Greg, bring us up to date, and everyone watching, give us a little history of the Victor Cafe.
I'll give you a little history of the cafe real fast, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about how the whole Rocky thing actually happened down here.
Please.
But the restaurant was initially a record store for RCA Victor Records that my grandfather began about 1911. And he was an opera aficionado. He came to this country when he was 15 years old, and opera was his thing. And by the time he was in his mid-20s, by hook or by crook, he opened up one of the first RCA Victor record outlets here in Philadelphia. Now, at that time, Victor Records was located right across the Ben Franklin Bridge, about 5 miles from here in Camden, New Jersey. And at that time, in the 20s, the 1920s, you know, Philadelphia was the mecca for opera, you know, here in the United States. Everyone came to Philadelphia, not New York. He had all the recordings. All the artists would come down to hear the latest recordings of their peers. And, you know, that's what happened all during the 1920s, you know. But towards the end of that decade, things got tough. He started making some sandwiches in the upstairs kitchen, and times were tough. 1929 rolls around, depression came.
Yeah.
It went out of business, you know. And then this is a quick history, you know, 1933 prohibition's repealed here in the United States, and he buys a beer license, and he had it in his mind to, you know, start serving some sandwiches and beer, and kept the music. And so at that time, it went from the Victor record store, which we have all the old pictures of, to the Victor Cafe.
Wow.
And so he would play the music, serve the food and the beer, and then occasionally the customers would get up and sing, mainly on a Friday night. And that's how it was for the longest time, for the 1930s, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s. It wasn't until 1979 until we, you know, this happenstance hired a singing waiter from the Academy of Vocal Arts here in Philadelphia, a fellow by the name of Bruce Pitney. He's from the Pittsburgh area, which you know well. And he started singing on the nights that he worked. And, you know, one thing led to the other, and it started getting busy on his nights, and the light bulb went off saying, hey, let's hire another. And another. And that's kind of how it happened. We didn't really think out that we were going to hire singing waiters. And now today, of course, everyone that works here, the bartenders, the busboys, the hosts, even some people that work in the kitchen, they all sing opera. They either go to the Academy of Vocal Arts or Curtis Institute or Temple University Music School. And so there it is. And then
this is not a typical job interview. When people when they come to get a job, it's not like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? They have to perform. And who listens? Is it you? Is it your brother Rick? No, who is the one?
I would listen for a long time, but I kind of got, because I know voice very well. I've been to the opera my whole life. I love the opera. I know good voice when I hear it, but several years ago, I decided just let the staff, you know, audition them. So normally when people come to audition, you come at exactly 4 o'clock on a Saturday while the staff is having their pre-dinner meal.
Yeah.
And that's where they're all together and they can sing a 5-minute aria real fast. But frankly, if they go to some of these great schools here in Philadelphia, like Temple or AVA,
you know, off the bat,
if they can sing there, they can sing anywhere.
Right.
You know, and so, but it's just a formality, you know, they audition them and that's how it works right now. So it's things have been working out really well.
Did you ever see yourself, like when you were a senior in high school, did you like say to yourself you wanted to be an astronaut, a doctor, or did you say, I want to take over the family business?
Well, I'm not sure I thought to myself I would take over the family business. I graduated college. I was doing some other jobs. I've always worked here from the time I was almost like 8, 9 years old, washing dishes. There were no child labor. There were no child labor laws back then.
Right.
And it was just a natural progression. I just stayed here. I was the youngest in my family, the youngest of 6, and the first 3 girls cut out. They all had their lives. One went to California. 2 others got married, moved away. Then the older boy had got married, had 7 children. He was working in a different industry. And my brother Rick moved out to California. So I was pretty much here all by myself. My father passed away in 1985, kind of unexpectedly. He got the disease, and within 7 months he was dead. So that was a big change. He was only 75 years old. And then his brother passed away. There was 2 boys, Henry and Armand. And so he died a few months later. So that was it. They were both gone, and I was still here. And so that's how things kind of progressed. I just stayed and did this, but I had other jobs,
you sure have,
and things like that. But so here now I'm 67, or I'll be 67 in a few weeks, and looking to retire, find someone to come down. I don't know if my children are going to take over anytime soon. We have 2 boys. But it'll still stay in the family. Or as my wife likes to say, if I drop dead tomorrow, she'll sell it the very next day. I don't think that'll happen. I think it'll stay in the family. But
I hope so.
I'd like to tell you a little bit about how the whole thing happened down here. Would you like to hear that?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, please.
I mean, it was just, it was, I was a Rocky fan from when I was in high school, and I saw the movie. I never once did we ever dream anything like this would ever happen. I mean, can you imagine? And so, I would like to, give you guys an idea of how this all began for us down here. It was a really incredible story, an incredible journey, and it was really pretty much an incredible story. And it all began, I think it was a Monday night. Very slow. I was down here at the restaurant. There's not too much business on Monday and Tuesday. And there was a woman in the restaurant walking around aimlessly. Turns out her name was Patricia Taggart. And I asked her, like, hey, what's up? Can I get you a table? You want to draw? Like, what's up? And she's there. Oh, I'm a location manager, scout for Sylvester Stallone. We're looking to do the next Rocky movie here, in Philadelphia. Maybe choose this location. I didn't believe her for not for 1 second.
Wow.
I thought she was just some homeless person off the street. And she was looking to get a free. Listen, honey. And she goes, no, hold on a second. I'm gonna call him right now. And I'm at this point, I'm there like,
yeah, right.
I went too far to get myself a drink, and then she's on the phone, and she hangs up. She goes, he's going to be here tomorrow at 6:00 on Tuesday night. I said, okay, whatever. Do you want something to eat? She goes, no, I'm all done. So she left. So that night I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking, was she for real? Or I guess I'd find out tomorrow. So at like 5:30 the next night, Tuesday night, I got a couple Budweisers. I sat across the street from the restaurant. And I I sat there waiting to see if anything would happen. And sure enough, at 6:00, these 3 big limousine vans pull up, and these 14 burly men get out of the truck. And the last one that gets out was him. And I'd never seen him before, but when you see him and you realize, oh my God, that's actually him. And it was. Yeah. I just stayed across the street drinking my beer. He went into the restaurant. I think my brother was there at that point, Ricky. I could see through the front window. I could see him walking around a little bit. I could see him up in the second floor lounge. And then I understood they went down in the basement for a while. I'm still flabbergasted, across the street, working on my 3rd Budweiser. And all of a sudden, about 15 minutes later, they came to the front door, got back into the vans, and left. As soon as they had appeared, they were gone. I was thinking, was it a dream? Did I just actually see that? So I jumped in my car and I tried to follow them for a few blocks. And I saw they made a left on 9th Street. And at that point, I lost them. I just came back home, back to the restaurant. I live right next door.
Okay.
An hour later, they pulled back up again, all of them. And I couldn't believe it again for a second time. This time they came in and they wanted to have dinner. I still didn't come inside. I was too starstruck. I didn't want to meet him or say anything at all. And they sat down and they all had, I remember they had 15 veal chops. And for me to have 15 veal chops on a Tuesday night, I was glad that I had it.
Right.
And they ate. And I remember him holding the phone up when someone was singing.
Wow.
I think that he may have, I don't know who he was married to at the time, Jennifer Flavin. I don't know. You know, and whoever it was his wife at that time, and he wanted to hear her.
Yeah, it was Jen. It was Jennifer.
And he was so moved by the music, and I thought that was pretty cool. At this point, I did walk in so I could see them where they were eating dinner, but I never introduced myself, and that was it. And then, you know, over the next several weeks, you know, people had reached out to me about making a contract to doing this. They wanted me to close down for 3 weeks, and I'm sitting there thinking, wow, you know, 3 weeks in, you know, February, heading towards Valentine's Day. This is really tight. You really want me to do this? I had to start canceling reservations now because we had already had reservations. And long and short of it, we finally had, you know, came upon a deal. You know, we just showed them what we were taking in, and I had asked them to make payroll, you know, and then for all the food they would eat to buy that, and you know, just reimburse us for what we would have taken in, you know, during those weeks. And you know, we weren't going to sit there and say, oh, we want, you know, millions of dollars. That, you know, I never would have asked for it, and it never would have happened anyway. I wanted to be in the movie. I wanted to be in the movie.
Of course.
And sure enough, you know, we struck a deal, but we never had a contract, you know, and never had any money up front. But I took the deal. I remember the night that they were supposed to come in, the Philadelphia police had posted signs around the neighborhood saying no parking beginning on a Sunday night at midnight. I mean, you never see that in South Philadelphia, and that people never pay attention to those signs anyway. And I'm laying in bed. So I live right next door to the restaurant. And at Sunday night at around the quarter midnight, I started hearing all these sirens and fire engines. And it was like, you know, it was like a national emergency. Everyone was looking out the window. There was police, sirens, big trucks coming down the street, big white Klieg lights. And it was like Hollywood was coming to South Philadelphia on a Sunday night at midnight. And the neighbors could not have been nicer. They all came out, moved their cars. And those that weren't there, we towed them right to a parking lot right near the restaurant. So no one got, you know, screwed on that. That's how it began. I mean, it just, Hollywood came that night, and they began. And for like 3-4 blocks square around the restaurant, there's wires, trucks, dressing rooms, bathrooms. It's just everything you can imagine. Yeah. And I live right around the corner from the restaurant, the first house in the corner. And my kids are seeing this all. My wife and I are seeing it all. We couldn't believe it. You know, we could not have been more happy. And the last thing about the whole deal was, you know, it was a union shoot, so they would only film Monday through Friday. They wouldn't work Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And I had asked them, I said, can we be open on those nights? No, we can't do that because the restaurant's going to have lights on the ceiling, wires, all the pictures. It's a hot set. Blah, 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 blah. They finally go, okay, you can open. Now, I think my brother Ricky had something to do with that as well. And but so that was gravy on top of what they were going to pay us anyway. Now I can open on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and the place it was beyond packed. And the best thing, and I was working the bar upstairs at that point. We have a bar in the lounge. It was 3 deep. The best thing was every night, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Sylvester Stallone, his brother Burt Young, they all showed up today because they wanted to. They didn't have to. They wanted to be there. And he would walk up to the bar. It's 3 deep in front of me, and he would go, yo, Greg, like whatever he was drinking back then, I don't know, Crown Royal and water or whatever it might be.
Whatever it was, yeah.
I'm only 5'5", but I felt like 6'10". You know what I mean?
Right?
It was great. I mean, for him
That's
to
great.
know my name, you know.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Are you kidding me? I have a video where Sly says my name like twice. It's on eternal loop in the house.
Yeah. It was great. You know, they gave us everything we asked for, and it couldn't be nicer. Everything worked out great. You wouldn't believe the amount of people that come down now. Like prior to COVID, people would come during the day a little bit, look around, then leave. But since COVID, it's mind-bending the amount of people that show up here from all over the world. And I mean, from Australia to Japan to Germany, a lot of German people. Just everywhere. And you can tell right away when they walk up, they're taking pictures. I tell them, come on in. The restaurant's not open till 5 o'clock, but we're normally here during the day. You show up a lot with the people. You know how it is.
Of course.
But even when you're not here, we get them all the time. They come in, they
That's
look
beautiful.
upstairs. I have the Leroy Neiman behind me. You know,
Nice.
You see, it's all right. I want to talk to you about that. So the Leroy Neiman, I personally, is one of the best decisions I think you made. Because the restaurant, yeah, it's got its history, as you told us, with the music, of course. But now it's in a whole new generation. And now you're going to bring new fans in. There you go. There's a great picture of the Leroy Neiman that was there during filming.
that's
So,
the original one right there.
yeah, right. So
Took up
where
the
did
whole-
you come up with the idea to, after, because Stallone has that in his house now. So now you what? You have like a local artist
I
do
looked
one,
up
and what's that
John
story?
Yeah, there's a restaurant in Ardmore that had all these murals on the wall, and I found out who was the artist. His name was John DeValiger, great artist. And I called him up. He came down. I told him what I wanted. We went through about 7 iterations of this until I finally settled on that one. And there's another one upstairs. And I just love the colors, and I liked the way it was against the red wall.
Right.
And I thought it really made that. I just loved it.
Yeah,
And
totally.
I love Rocky 3, and I love the end, the freeze frame. Where
Of
they're doing
course.
that is, and so I have 2 of them now. One there and one up in the lounge. I just put a lot of more pictures upstairs in the lounge, so now we have a lot of pictures.
I saw yesterday. I was just in yesterday with some friends from Ireland, and I saw them. Montgomery, John Montgomery or McCormick. Who's the Irish? McCormick. Yes. Yeah. So we pointed out the big John McCormick painting, a picture right there, and so they loved it. They didn't know who he was. They were a younger couple, but there's an audible gasp when I bring a tour in and they see it on the back wall. They are blown away, and they say, how did this get here? And so, of course, I tell them, what you had just told us, and they are just blown away that you have embraced this so much. I think one of the things, I don't know that I've ever asked you, what is it about Rocky that you love?
Well, Rocky or the man himself, I guess.
Both. Let's do both. Why do you love both?
Well, the empathetic nature, the trusting nature, the true gentleman, the trueness of, they're real people, especially, Rocky, and especially Sylvester Stallone himself. You figure a big star like that, and he's not unapproachable. He's caring.
Yeah.
Right.
He's knowledgeable. His brother Frank is a genius. He's the kind of guy they both know a little bit about everything. When I say
No.
But they're just great people, and they care.
Yeah.
And they're gentlemen, and they just couldn't be nicer. They were great to everyone. We just had he came down for his anniversary. So he was going to come down with just his wife and maybe one daughter and one camera guy. It was for his reality show, I think. He eventually came down with him and his wife, the 3 daughters, and a 15-man film crew on a Saturday night. It was funny. But there was a table that was seated. They came. No one knew he was coming down. And there was these people, I think they were Mexican, and they had the Rocky shirts on. They were doing a Rocky tour, and they were just fans. They wanted to have dinner there. And they did not know he was coming in. And when he came in, the look on their face, they're sitting right next to where I'm sitting right now. And I think it's on his show there. It was on Hulu or something.
Yep.
And he stayed with them for 10, 15 minutes. And I mean, the entire restaurant was packed. And he stayed, it was just, and that's the kind of guy that he is.
Right.
Him and his brother Frank, and everyone's associated, the whole crew, they're all just wonderful people. I can't speak highly enough about them.
So that was my tour group that I dropped off out front of the restaurant. And then I went home, and I hadn't spoken to you. I didn't know Sly was going to be there. Had I done that, I would have been in there juggling whatever I needed to do to get Sly's attention.
Right.
They said to tell no one. And when
of course.
do the benefit for they had some World War II and Korea veterans. Luncheon here. I think I might have sent you a video of the.
Yeah, December 3rd for Rocky Day.
Yeah, and boy, when he came in and he spent all that time with these people, and he does that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
They never get too big with all his other shows he has now. His entire career that he had. As big as he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's never. He walked in the last time. He remembers my first name. He asked the outdoor, when we had the outdoor dining facility.
Right.
Greg, what's this for? And I'm going, look, people want to eat outside. COVID was still around then because
right.
Because I'm going to throw a handful of termites on it and they're going to eat it all up.
That's how he is. His brain is out there. He thinks of stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Stacy, what are you thinking so far? I mean, this has got to. This is impressive.
Yeah, it's wonderful to hear. To witness what you're saying, how sweet he is. To hear someone who has seen him just be a very regular, approachable person. It's nice to know that that's real, because that saying that if you meet your favorite star, and it's just nice to know that I wouldn't be disappointed if I ever had the chance to meet him, because he is that approachable, he is that friendly, and so to hear your stories about that, I love it.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I mean, myself to this day. I mean, my wife was an extra in one of the scenes when he was getting pitched for that Dixon fight, the first one.
Paulie goes out the back door. I got 2 watches.
Can you imagine being part of this, franchise? Who would have ever have thought? And God knows where it might lead. You never know. Maybe you might have another one down the road, and the final scene might be, we all want to go back to Adrian's, for a final drink or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
My mind's going right now,
Greg, let me tell you something. This is no secret. I'm not like telling tales out of school.
Yeah.
Dwight mentioned this to me, but he also put it out there as well. So for Amazon, he wrote a miniseries about Rocky in the 60s, set against the backdrop of the civil unrest of the 1960s. And we would see Rocky meet Mickey for the first time, Paulie for the first time, Gazzo and all these things. So a great concept. But it would go back and forth like Godfather 2. So we'd see probably an 80-year-old Rocky walking the streets of Kensington. He'd see the drugs. He'd see Mickey's gym, his old apartment, and it would trigger memories when he was younger.
Right.
And one of the things he had written was a street view from Adrian's. The camera is peering into the window, and there's a single little candle lit on a table in the main dining room. And in the main dining room, Adrian is sitting there, and Rocky brings over glasses of wine, some food. I'm not sure if it's their anniversary. It's something nice that Rocky's trying to do. And Adrian tells him she has the cancer.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
And it's this scene that he's going to put in there. Can you imagine this? I swear to God, if it comes to be, I hope I'm there, because I can't think of a better place to cry than the restaurant.
You'll be there. Adrian, I met my Adrian here. My wife's a South Philly girl. She was a big Rocky fan.
Was she?
She's 6 years my junior, but she remembers when she was in high school and they were filming the Little Marie scene there. Not far from where she lived. She saw all this, and then
it's amazing.
During Rocky 2, she followed him up the street as she was a young girl at this point, and she's like almost crying, and she's like behind him, and she wanted to say something, but she has her own stories about that, being from South Philly and right where they were filming down there. That's one of my favorite scenes of the movie, the Little Marie one. When she says, screw you, creepo, and then turns around and the music comes on, and it really tugs at your heart the same way when he in Rocky when he's yelling at Mickey, and Mickey leaves the house and he runs down and talk to him to tell him
around him.
Hell goes by.
Oh yeah,
music. That's like my 2 favorite scenes, because the music comes on and I always shed a tear. It's just.
Me too. That Conti soundtrack is so brilliant, and I've gotta tell you, there's one of the times next time I'm in the restaurant and you've got some free time, we've got to try to find the Italian opera that opens with the Rocky theme.
Yeah.
You know, we hear the bum, 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 but when the white letters come across, that opening is from an Italian opera that's 400 years old, that kings and queens demanded their musicians play in England. Okay. This is what Conti played for the director for them to make this. And then it kind of got tweaked. But I'd like to find out what opera.
Yeah, I'll find it out immediately. I totally forgotten about that.
That's a great trivia question that I would love to pass on to people that take the tour. I just think it's phenomenal. All right, Stacy, what else? Because I don't want to keep Greg forever. I have a feeling we're going to bring him back on with his wife, Alexis, so they can tell some more fun stories. But before we let Greg go, what do you got for him? Anything you want to ask or that we've missed?
Greg, you sent me some great pictures. Were there specific ones you wanted to show? I do have this one with Mr. Lundgren.
Look at her with dolls.
Awesome, yeah.
I'll tell you, that's one of my favorite pictures of him here in the restaurant, sitting at table 13. We have that hung upstairs. This guy was amazing. My wife absolutely loved him. I loved him. And he showed us a couple exercises he did when he was here in the restaurant. I mean, he's getting up there in age, but this guy's cut. He's a monster. He's great. Another one of the same empathetic, caring. Yeah. We saw him across the street one day. It was after filming. He was still here in Philadelphia. We had not met him, and so he saw us, and we were walking over. And he goes, "Hold on a second." He thought we wanted an autograph. And then once he figured out it was Alexa and I, he could not have been nicer. He brought us over to the restaurant and everything, took that picture with my wife. One of my favorite pictures. I love that scene.
Yeah.
I do. I know you don't like Creed a lot or whatever, but
I love any scene that Sylvester Stallone is in. Okay. So number one, I love any scene that Rocky's in. I think Rocky should be in the Avengers. I think Rocky should be in Spider-Man, a Tom Hanks movie. If he's buying a coffee at the corner, getting a shoe shine, whatever. Right. There should be a rule in Hollywood that Rocky lives forever. One of my favorite moments when this journey first started for me, you and Rick were very, very kind to me. The BBC, the British Broadcasting Network, they had come to Philly to do a interview on me. And we did a whole photo shoot and an interview at the restaurant. And there's one picture in particular that you and I love. And I'm sitting alone in the restaurant with that powder blue sweater on.
Picture. I tell everybody that. Half the people don't even know it's not Stallone. They think it's Stallone. I said, no, it's that guy right there.
Yeah, but they're already loaded by this point.
I'll tell you, that's a classic picture.
I love that picture.
Restaurant, as long as I own it, as long as my family, it's like one of the pictures, even with all the opera people here from the 20s, DeLuca, Distefano, Gigli, Pinza, all of the greats, Caruso, Pavarotti, Domingo, all of them. That picture also belongs here with them. It's that classic. I love it. And I congratulate my friend on everything you achieved.
You see, this is kind of what I'm talking about. When Sue and I walked into the restaurant, when Steve Green walked us through those doors, and we're looking around and we see the pictures of Adrian, and I see the Lee Neiman and all the props and the gloves and Sly's director's chair and the clapper and all these great items. I look at it and I go, my God, look at these pictures on the wall. And it went from, of course, from Rocky, then it went to the singers that were on there. And of course, Greg, you and your family had educated me on that. And I said to myself, could you imagine being on a picture on the wall in this place? What an incredible honor. And here I am. You've got me on like 6 pictures upstairs on the wall, which when I go up there, it's very, very difficult for me. I'm a very emotional guy when it comes to this. Like, Greg, when you were talking about when the car showed up, you took me right back to there, and I started getting very choked up. It's very, very difficult for me because even now I feel it. Most people do not get a chance to live their dream as an adult because reality sets in. And what you, Alexa, Steve, and especially Rhea did for me, I could never repay that. And not that you want repay, but I could never give back what you gave me. And the best thing I think I can do is to just keep putting it forward. The Victor Cafe, the generosity, the kindness, the great food, the eating, the atmosphere. And this is why I love you all so much. You guys have become family. You're not just people that own a restaurant.
Absolutely.
You're literally your family.
Thank you. Your family to us as well. You know, I appreciate those very kind words. It's very nice. You know, listen, I had also bought a couple of the old
I love this.
Gloves there, but one of my favorite ones was the one where they all signed them. I would get in line like everyone else. I remember, and I'd be like 20, and when I got my turn, he would go, Stallone would go, Greg, what are you doing? I'm saying, I'm getting in line like everybody else. So, you know,
Stacy, any other pictures that we missed before I give Greg my last two questions?
All right. So you might recognize this one, Mike.
I took that picture.
Yes, you did. But Greg, you called me. See, here's the problem, Stacy. Greg and I can go back and forth for about 9 hours on stories. Very, very quickly, Stallone didn't go to lunch. He took his lunch outside talking to me for about 45 minutes. He's smoking the stogie. I'm inside in the upstairs office, and Greg calls me and he said, get down here. Sly's out front. He's all by himself. Come on down. So I did. And this was 2 days after Sly had endorsed my tours on Instagram. So Sly sees me and he goes, Mike, come on over. So here we are talking. The funny thing about this picture, I started in the gutter. My toes were where the street meets the sidewalk, okay? Because I was very careful not to get right in Sly's face, right? So Sly and I, we have this natural progression where we're getting closer and closer. Then we're side by side doing videos and all these crazy things. But again, Greg, it's because of your timing. And this is where I begin.
That one.
Oh, this was incredible. I could talk for an hour on this. I'm not going to. Stace, what else you got?
All right. Tell us about this one.
Oh, look at that.
The only reason why I gave you that, you asked me for a couple of pictures. That's a recent one. It's my son, one of my children, Rose and I. This is only a couple of weeks ago. And the only reason why I gave it to you, and I wasn't trying to do it, my arms look a little beefy there. Like a little Rocky Balboa.
Yes.
I said, let me throw that in there for a 67-year-old man. Doesn't look too
I love
bad.
it.
Not too bad.
Sent that picture. I'm sorry.
I love that. Oh my God. Look at Santa.
Oh, there we are. You know, Rick's around. He's running up and down. He's in the kitchen running up and down right now, doing all the stuff Stallone did during the movie. This is also about a month and a half ago. We were at a friend's house, and that's when Rick still had his big beard. He just got it all shaved off or trimmed very neatly.
Yeah.
My older brother, Rick.
That's such a great picture.
Nice.
And these are a friend of mine from grade school, the guy on my right. And he just came in for dinner. And again, Stacey asked me for a couple of pictures. I didn't have anything very recent, but that's all
Thank you.
Just
this is great.
And he came down with him and his son, and I've known his family. His father was the fire commissioner here in Philadelphia during the One Meridian fire. We grew up with them, and he's a great guy, Craig Allshafer, just a good friend of mine.
Nice. That's so great.
Yeah.
And this you sent, I loved too.
Yeah,
I love that.
You know, just a few of the things that we have upstairs. I'm trying to make a little montage. We have it up there, you know, because so many people come by. At one time, we only had that one picture up there.
Yeah.
By Stallone. Then I started putting a few more. Now there's about maybe 30 pictures up there. And my son, my son number one, he lives out in Los Angeles, of all places, and he's also has his own producing, directing film company. He has two other partners.
Nice.
And I asked him for the last year to put together a looping video of every scene in the restauant so I could play that upstairs along with all the pictures.
Smart.
He montaged that picture of and the customer had hand carved that Adrian sign for us. You know,
Really?
The thing about that hand carved Adrian sign, so he was an old school woodworker. So he was a guy on my tour. I don't know if he's from Ohio or somewhere in Illinois, maybe. I don't know. But anyways, when he took the tour, he said, Mike, there's only 2 of these in the world. He goes, I made one for you and I made one for the Victor Cafe because of how beautiful their restaurant is. And I think he wrote something on the back, an inscription for you.
It is.
So that is only 2 on the planet like that. There's no other signs like that.
It's like the centerpiece.
It is.
It's great.
Yeah, no, that's a beautiful centerpiece up there.
You know,
And there is loud gasps when I bring fans up the steps and they see this court, this floor. It's basically a Rocky museum of memorabilia. People love this so much and they literally stand there. They're taking pictures of everything because they're just so involved in the moment. And I think that was such a great idea that you had.
You know, I'm so taken by that Adrian sign out front. Now, you know, we had a big Victor Cafe sign out front, but we had to take that down during COVID because we were doing outdoor dining and we sang from the balcony. And so singing from the balcony on the second floor, the sign precluded half the street from seeing the singer. So I took it down.
Okay.
And, I have it. I rehung it in the backyard of the restaurant right now, but I've always wanted to put another sign back in the original location, which is where it's right under the balcony. And I'm going to make the same Adrian sign, the oval, the same color, and just have the Victor Cafe, you know, EST established 1911, and just outline it with white neon the way the Adrian sign, because that's my favorite picture during the snow days of February. And there'd be no one on the street, and I would take a picture of that sign. I have so many of them. You know, I don't know. You must have several of those signs.
I have 12 trillion of those.
Right.
Greg, do you remember the night?
I want to do that. I'm going to hang it right in the original location of the Victor sign, which was under the balcony. And that's next on the agenda. It's one of my bucket list things before I kick the bucket. So
do you remember? This is one of my favorite memories. And then I'm gonna ask you 2 questions, and I'll let you go. One of my favorite memories is during Creed 2. Me, Stu, you, and Alexa were in the restaurant. Everything's done, right? They're gone filming for the day. And, you know, I took pictures sitting in the chair, looking at the video monitors. There's Stacy, there's one of me by the black and white photo that Rocky and Adonis kind of talk about. Let's see if we can pull that up.
I'll just need a minute. I can cut this out.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Pictures in it as well. I have one of your thumb drives that has all those pictures in it.
Yeah, that's right. I remember. Yeah, I had sent a few to you.
In the fine pictures, you have to categorize everything. You know?
I know.
That's what I need to do. But I have 10,000 pictures on my phone. Right?
Me too. That's the problem. All right, Stacy, remember that raise? Okay, there we go. I was just about to revoke your raise. Okay, so this is one of the corner pieces in, this is from Creed 1. So this is one of the corner, oh no, wait, is this Creed 2? Oh shoot, I think this is Creed 2.
They film mostly in Creed 1. They film next door, not in the main room of the restaurant.
Right, yeah.
At that corner table.
No, I think this is Creed 1. Okay, so obviously anybody watching knows that the black and white photo is from round 10. And of course, Rocky and Adonis are standing on either side of it. That's on the other side of them. And of course, this is where Rocky goes, oh, there is a resemblance. I didn't know at the time how this was going to figure into the moment. So seeing this was then going back and realizing that this picture was a centerpiece, was just an emotional high. Well, Greg, do you remember the night you, Alexa, me, and Sue were sitting at a table? You opened up a bottle of wine for the 4 of us, and we're just chilling, right? And we're the only ones there. And on the table next to us is a script. of Creed 2. So I go and I grab the script. I come over to the table and we start reading it. The four of us are going through the script that was left there. It was amazing. We were on cloud 9. We're walking out of the door. You're locking up because the four of us were going to go to a dinner. Well, we did go to dinner at another restaurant, and the news van comes through and he starts interviewing you. And you open up the restaurant, you go back in, boom, free advertisement. Do you remember that night?
Sure, I do. Yeah. And he's still here in Philadelphia. That guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a picture of that upstairs in the lounge.
Yeah, you do.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah. Great.
Beautiful.
Guy.
All right, Stacey, I'm about to ask Greg my last 2 questions. Is there anything else we missed that you want to check in with him?
No, we covered just about all of it. I just want to say thank you basically for 3 things. I loved hearing about the history of your restaurant and all the way back, you said, to 1911. That was great to hear, and especially right from you. I loved what you witnessed from Sly, because all we have is what we see in Balboa, in Creed 1 and 2. That's all we have. And for you to, fill in so many more stories about what it was like and just how he was as a person was very special. But the last thing that I love the most is that your wife and you understood Mike from before you really knew him. Like the
moment we saw him.
Yes, that you understood his character, the goodness there and the purity of his So that's a big thing for me, because from the first time Mike and I ever spoke, there's just a goodness there, a natural goodness that I picked up on right away. So when you were talking about that, I'm like, yep, I know just what you meant.
Yeah.
When you can read someone like that, it's a special moment. So
thank you. Thank you. Well,
thank you.
I'll tell you, those 3 weeks were just, it was like a dream through. One quick before you ask me.
Yeah, please, no, go, Greg. I didn't want to hold you up.
The coffee tent was right out front of my house all night long. It was open 24 hours a day, basically. And my 2 children were very young at that time, and their bedrooms were right in front. So they're looking out their window. They can see everything. It was great. The barriers. And then I'm down there, and one quick story about Frank Stallone, who never lost his temper about anything. Boy, he would talk to some of the old timers here at the restaurant, and he could talk with them one-on-one. He knew everything they knew about opera.
Yes.
He's very, very intelligent. But he's down having a coffee. And where I first met you outside of the barrier, these guys were down. Oh, Frank, come on over. It's cold out. It's probably like 3 a.m, and they start doing this. We got a song. He goes, do you know this one? And they start doing the, do, take me back. And they go, do you know that one? And he goes, do I know it? I wrote it. Where you guys come from? It was the only time I saw him ever get animated, just for a moment. But I thought it was funny as hell.
Nice.
That's one of the cornerstones of the franchise.
Yeah.
Do, take you back. Are you kidding?
I had no idea that he wrote that. And I had no idea that was him in the movie, too.
Yeah, because when Sly wrote that scene about guys from the old neighborhood standing around a burning barrel, there was not enough money in the budget to pay professional musicians. So Sly said, Frank, would you and your group Valentine like to show up? And we'll pay you like a portion of what we would pay professionals. And Frank was like, yeah, let's do it. So he really kind of helped his brother out. And that is it's in the opening moments. It's within the first 7 minutes, I think, of Rocky. We see Frank Stallone and Valentine on the corner singing Take You Back. Right. You 2-quarter bums are getting better every year. You know that?
It was like a 24-hour-a-day thing for 3 weeks. Straight. Even when they weren't filming, people knew that they were here having dinner that night, and the crowds out front and all around, because they had it pretty well blocked off, as much as I'd never seen so many trucks in my life. They lined off Dickinson 13th all the way up to Broad Street, everywhere. It was just a remarkable thing. So I know you had a couple of questions for me yesterday.
Did you know originally Adrian was alive in the first script, and it was going to be Rocky's restaurant, not Adrian's. It was going to be big screen TVs, video games, pool tables. It was going to be a loud sports bar. Were you aware of that?
First time ever hearing of that. Boy, I'm glad that didn't come to pass.
Yeah, exactly. They were originally going to go with Ralph's over on 9th, right?
Right. That's where they went that night, I think.
That's right. When you went to follow them.
Right, and
That's right.
Ninth, they went down, and I said, you know what, I better back off, and
yeah. But then Patricia, she comes in and she said, "Oh, wait a minute, no, this place." She fell in love with that place, and I remember talking with her upstairs for about 6 hours during filming of Creed 2, and she couldn't have been nicer.
We fell in love with her too. She was great.
She was fantastic, but kind of bringing it back, my whole point is that Sly changed the script, because once he decided to kill Adrian off for an emotional hook to justify Rocky's going back to the ring, he knew he wanted to have Adrian woven through the tapestry of the movie somehow.
Right.
But he knew the cemetery, he didn't want to have every scene there. He wanted to have something a little lighter. And so he go, what am I going to do? And when he saw the restaurant, he was like, Jesus Christ, this is exactly what it's going to be. It's not going to be a sports bar. It's not going to be necessarily about Rocky. It's going to be about Adrian. When we come through, the big painting of Adrian, the pictures of Rocky and Adrian, it's called Adrian's. Adrian was the one who would have gone from table to table, ensuring that everyone was having a good time. So one, I don't think I ever told you that.
Unaware of that.
Number two, if you could go back in time and tell your, I don't know, 15-year-old self something, what would you give? What advice would you give your 15-year-old self?
You mean other than buying Microsoft and Amazon and
whatever,
right?
you pick it.
Plastics, from the old The Graduate, instead of saying plastics.
Right.
Amazon,
Dustin Hoffman, exactly.
Yahoo, all those things. Now, what would I tell myself? I don't know. I think I've had a pretty good life. I think I've done everything the right way. I've had no regrets.
Wow.
That's rare.
I just I got to meet the woman of my dreams. If I told myself something back, it might have gotten changed for me. So I might have gotten changed. I think I'll stick with what I got. I thank you, my friend, for letting me be part of your podcast here.
Are you kidding? This has been absolutely brilliant.
Yes.
Last thing, we're going to sign off with this. You're in an elevator with Stallone. You've got 30 seconds in between floors. What do you say to him?
I would ask him how it all began and when did he know he was going to be involved in the movie industry. I like to hear from people that have made it, whether it's an athlete, like at what point of your childhood, did you know? And that's interest me, that particular question. That's what I would have asked him. When did you know you were going to be movies, or you were going to be a writer, or when did it occur to you that you were actually going to make a living, you're going to support yourself? When was it, and what was that moment like for you? Yeah. And that's what I would want to find out.
Seriously, that's probably one of the best answers. We've never heard that from all 117 people we've interviewed. We've never heard that one.
Yeah.
Greg, we have a little thing we say when we say goodbye here at the podcast. Until I see you again, my friend, which will be very soon. Keep punching, my friend.
Keep punching.
Bye, Greg.
Peace. Take care, guys. Nice meeting you.
Love you, brother.
Thanks.
Love you too.
Bye-bye.
How about that?
What a great guy.
Listen,
so nice.
That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
That's just the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more we can bring. I'd love to get him back on. I'd love to get Alexa on, get her take. I'd love to get Ray on, and I'd love to get Steve on, because these are the four people that literally changed the course of my life. So you guys hear it. You guys see what a genuine guy Greg is. You guys know what this restaurant means to not only me, but the Rocky universe. I just love the fact that the restaurant changed the script of Rocky Balboa. I like this still just weighs on me in ways it's very, very difficult for me to talk to Greg and go deep without getting emotional. It's very, very hard for me because, Stacey, anybody who knows me knows my future was not all that bright when I was in high school. It really wasn't. It was a lot of menial labor jobs. It was a lot of crap and garbage. I was not that person to have that something extra. So I stumbled into corporate retail, which was, I don't wish that on my worst enemy. Well, maybe I do wish that on a few people, but not many. I wouldn't wish that on many. And then to rebound, bounce around for a little bit, and come up with, to meet a gentleman like Greg Distefano is something that it's hard for me not to express my gratitude in ways that are not embarrassing. It's difficult. And Sue's always telling me, Mike, it's great, but just, they know you've told them a trillion times.
Yeah.
I don't ever want someone to think I take them for granted. And so they know that, and this just changed everything. It did.
You can see that they know that, you know, and I'm glad that they're a good read on character. I mean, I said it to him and I'll say it to you. I mean, you've worked hard for your opportunities, but there's a lot of people out there who work hard too, but they don't have a likability. You have a likability and an honesty and a kindness about you. And they picked up on it right away. You do ooze that, and I think that brings you opportunity too. Yes, you do. You do.
I don't know. Have you been drinking today?
No, I have not.
But you could probably use one.
Yeah, maybe later.
Hey, Stacy, we got to get you down to the Victor Cafe so you can say hi to Greg face to face.
Yes, I would absolutely. We got to plan that. I
know.
Got to get some senior sitting going here so I can get away for a weekend. But yes, I would love to meet Greg and see the restaurant and take your tour and do all the things. But Greg, you were just lovely. Thank you for all that history and just bringing a little bit more of what it was like, what Sly's like, and we will meet at some point for sure. So, Michael.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, if anybody's wondering about me, who I am, what I do, a guy by the name of Jim Toscano, he came up with a concept called The Pretender. You can see it right over Stacy's shoulder, right there. The dream is real, folks. It's on, where is it, Stacy? It is on Amazon Prime, Tubi Television, YouTube. It's everywhere except Netflix, because Netflix has some kind of an issue with The Pretender. Also, I wrote a little book called Cue the Rocky Music. There you go. My niece Lauren did the cover for that. It is kind of a bunch of stories I tell on the tours that go into a lot more depth of how I got to be where I am. If you're looking to start up a chat and say hi, you can see me on Instagram at the Yo Philly Film Tour. Same on Facebook. Same over on TikTok. Stacy, where can we find you?
I'm over on Instagram at Had Me at Yo, as well as the Rocky Files, and I am on Facebook, but not monitoring the Rocky Files podcast.
That's true.
So yeah, just always try to message me over at Instagram. I'm there about 99% of the time. So
beautiful. Stacy, until next week.
Until next week.
Keep
punching,
my friend.
Bye-bye.